The neighbor who thought she owned everything, until she crossed the line. There's always that one neighbor who acts like the entire building belongs to them. For us, that neighbor was Mrs. Harper. She had an opinion on everything, from where we should park to how we should decorate our balconies. But what started as harmless nosiness quickly spiraled out of control. One afternoon, I came home to find my front door slightly ajar. My heart raced as I pushed it open, only to find Mrs. Harper standing in my living room, rummaging through my things as if she had every right to be there. That's when I knew things had gone too far. Mrs. Harper had always been a bit of a busybody, but her behavior escalated after the building's landlord moved away, leaving the management to a distant relative who rarely showed up. With no one to keep her in check, she began acting like she was in charge of everything. It started with small things, insisting we take down the wind chimes because they were too noisy, and putting up notes in the lobby dictating what time we could use the laundry room. We all found her annoying but harmless, until the day she broke into my apartment. I had been at work when it happened. My roommate, who had a different schedule, came home early and noticed the door was unlocked. At first, she thought I had forgotten to lock it, but when she stepped inside, she saw Mrs. Harper rifling through our mail on the kitchen counter. My roommate was too shocked to speak, and Mrs. Harper, unfazed, looked up and said, "Oh, I was just making sure you didn't miss anything important." When I got home and heard what happened, I was furious. I marched over to Mrs. Harper's apartment, demanding to know what she thought she was doing. She didn't even try to hide it. "Someone has to keep an eye on things around here," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "The building's been going downhill ever since the landlord left, and if I don't step in, who will?" I was stunned by her audacity. I told her in no uncertain terms that she had no right to enter anyone's apartment without permission. But she just waved me off, muttering something about how she was only trying to help. I knew I couldn't let this go. What if she decided to break into someone else's apartment? Or worse, what if she had already done it and we just didn't know? I got together with a few other neighbors, and we decided to take action. We pooled our resources and hired a locksmith to change the locks on every door in the building. We also installed security cameras in the hallways, something Mrs. Harper didn't know about. Then, we waited. It didn't take long. A few days later, one of the cameras caught Mrs. Harper trying to break into another neighbor's apartment. This time, we had proof. We confronted her with the footage, and she finally realized she was in serious trouble. She tried to apologize, saying she only wanted to make sure the building was safe, but no one was buying it. We took the evidence to the landlord's relative, who was shocked by what had been going on in their absence. Mrs. Harper was given an ultimatum: stop her antics or face eviction. For the first time, she looked genuinely scared. From that day on, Mrs. Harper kept to herself. The notes disappeared from the lobby, and the building felt like a community again. We all breathed a little easier knowing that our privacy was finally being respected. And as for Mrs. Harper, she learned the hard way that no one person owns everything, no matter how much they might act like it.